Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Watchlist. Basically, think of this as a monthly TV guide for me to let you know what and when TV shows that I'm interested in and maybe you're interested in are coming out. Like always, in the description down below, I'll include any links to any trailers that might be available about anything that I'll bring up during this watch list. First up, on August 4th on AMC, we had the fourth and final season of Preacher. I'm very excited about it. It's kind of bummed to see that Preacher's coming to an end, but it's still going to be very exciting to see how it ultimately all ends. Just looking at the quick look we get in the trailer that dropped at Comic-Con, it's going to be a wild season. Obviously, you have Jesse and Tulip going to rescue Cassie. All the while, we're kind of learning more, get bits and pieces of understanding what God's plan is. Obviously, you got everything with the cowboy and Eugene, like where that all kind of ends up going. Hitler running hell, what's that going to be like? Obviously, the ties between both that, you know, the Grail, hell, as well as heaven, like that whole situation. Just from the trailer, it looks just as wild and as nuts. Like I said, based on the trailer, it seems like we're dealing with the apocalypse. So I'm very interested to see what Preacher does, especially because I think I've talked about this before. Like Preacher, what I was reading somewhere, I didn't read too much in it because I didn't want to know, but apparently the TV show is going to change how the apocalypse goes down compared to how it does in the comic book. That's something I'll look up later on and kind of see the comparisons. I've done it subsequently with like every season and be like, oh, what are some differences between a TV show and a comic book? But nevertheless, but like I said, I'm very, very excited to see how this whole situation ends, you know, where Jesse finds himself in his new, you know, continued search, trying to find God and, like, you know, what he's really up to, like to get the full scope of what he wants. I'm very interested to kind of find out about all of that. On August 7th on the CW, we have a new series premiering called Bulletproof. It's this kind of action-y police procedural crime drama. It's basically these two cops are just kind of buddies. It almost seems kind of like a little bit like an action comedy type of thing, but it does seem like it's just straight up like a procedural crime drama, which is interesting because I feel like the CW doesn't never really have that. Like, it has procedural elements in certain shows, but like a full-blown cop show like that, I don't think they've had one 100% without like there being some added element to it. But it just seems kind of like a, you know, action-y, like, you know, take down bad guys type of show. Interestingly enough, it isn't it's actually originally, I would assume, a British show from what I think I was reading. It's already been out like for like a year, but this is its first time in the States, and it's on the CW. So that's definitely going to be interesting to kind of, you know, especially if you're looking for something on the more crime drama side of things. I think what I was reading was only 6 episodes. So if you're looking for something on a more crime drama side of things, check it out on the CW. For what I was reading, it's like they're basically kind of like two different type of people. Like, they basically have the same morals of like, oh, how they feel about a lot of things, but they're very two different cops. I think we're probably getting kind of almost like that, probably Riggs and Murtaugh type of relationship, where one's kind of crazy and one's maybe one by the book, but they're both kind of like, you can tell like they're captain or their lieutenant. It's like, you just cause me so much type of trouble, so it seems like it's going to be that type of dynamic. So I'm very interested to see what it's all about. Next up, on August 8th, also in the CW, we have 2 sentence horror stories, which is interesting because this is going to be like the CW's first like full-blown horror series. I know like there's exceptions because like Supernatural has a horror element to it, as well as all the other like Vampire Diaries related shows. Vampire Diaries, the originals, Legacies, they have horror elements to them, but like to have a full-blown just horror series, this is going to be a first, at least to my knowledge, of, you know, for the CW. It is a horror anthology series. Essentially, it seems like it's kind of like basically the concept, it seems like it's an internet thing. Like, 2 sentence horror stories is an internet thing that's now being adapted into a TV show, but you're kind of like taking a lot of the stories and adapting them to more so be a digital age representation of these stories. That kind of makes me think maybe we're kind of getting a little bit of a Black Mirror type of thing, since they reference the digital age, which is, you know, interesting comparison to make, considering I've never seen Black Mirror. I've heard people talk about it, but I've never seen it myself. Maybe one day I'll kind of circle around to it. Like I said, I'm not that big into anthology series. I make certain exceptions in certain regards, but I'd be interested to see, you know, what it would be about, you know. And even if, you know, I don't end up checking it out, maybe someone who's coming across this is like, oh, I love an anthology series, I'll check it out. On August 9th on Netflix, we have a movie, Rocko's Modern Life Static Cling, which I didn't even know this was a thing. So I don't remember a lot of Rocko's Modern Life. I don't even remember what the actual final episode was, but based on the premise of this, essentially Rocko, Heifer, and their pal have been like I said, it's been years since I've seen Rocko's Modern Life. Essentially, essentially they've been in space for like the past 20 some years, and they come back, and obviously life is kind of going on without them. They're in the 21st century. It's like, oh, we're not in the 90s anymore. And then like craziness ensues of them trying to deal with like this new digital age and everything. Their neighbors, the frogs, like apparently this the story is also about like finding their son. Like I said, I don't remember, because I don't remember a lot that went down in Rocko's Modern Life. I knew, like, if you're familiar with it, it's essentially this world where people are animals. Like everyone's an animal. Like Heifer's a cow, Rocko's a kangaroo, I believe. And you know, their friend, like I said, I'm terrible with names, but he's the one with glasses. He's a turtle, stuff like that. It's a weird show that I don't remember a lot of. Like, it's one of those shows you also hear like little things of like, oh, if you were older and watched this show, you would pick up on a lot more of that stuff that only adults would get humor-wise. But nevertheless, I'd actually be very interested to kind of go back and check this out. An interesting thing I was reading was basically this was supposed to come out in like 2018 on Nickelodeon, but it got shelved, and at some point Netflix got the rights to it, so now it's airing on Netflix, which is going to be interesting. I wonder, did they get licensing rights for the rest of the series, or is it just a movie? I don't think I ever come across Rocko's Modern Life on Netflix. To be fair, I wasn't looking for it, so that's something I'm going to put some time into. Which all of this actually connects into the next show on the list, well, movie, and that is on August 16th, we have the new Invader Zim movie, Into the Florpus, which I didn't even know this was in the workings. Well, I'd heard about this a little while back, but like it kind of disappeared. I was never like heavily looking into it, and now it's like, oh, it's coming out now, which is interesting. I think it was kind of in a similar vein where it's supposed to come out on Nickelodeon, but never did, probably got shelved, and now a lot of that's kind of like heading to Netflix, which I don't know anything about this. I did not look anything up. The only thing that's out to my knowledge or is a teaser. There's some trailer stuff, but that's from like a year ago, so I don't know whether any of that still applies. I'm sure it does, but I'm fine with it. It's Invader Zim. I'm gonna watch it. Like, I don't need to know what it's about. That's another show I need to go back, you know, part of my childhood. Like, if you've never seen Invader Zim, you should. It's a funny cartoon. Essentially, the premise is that basically Zim is basically the worst of his species. Like, they're invaders, and he's just terrible. So his people are like, go to Earth, take care of this planet, blah, blah, blah. It's like, oh, great, thanks. He's out of our hair. Because he's just the worst, and he's living on Earth. He's pretending to be a normal human, but like one of his neighbors, who's also a classmate of his, knows he's an alien and is trying to expose him. He's trying to do world domination stuff, but it's not just Zim. He's literally in a world that is weird. It's not that just Zim is a weirdo. Everything in that world is weird and twisted, and you're like, what? It's a crazy show, and I'm so curious to see what they ultimately do with the movie, because once again, I don't remember how the series ended. It's one of those Nickelodeon things of like, I saw episodes, a lot of episodes, but like, you know, it was always out of order. I never really, you know, knew where everything goes, because they were very episodical things. I don't know if there was necessarily like an overarching plot. In certain degrees with like Invader Zim there were, but you get what I'm trying to say. So I'm very interested to check it out, you know, especially, you know, for nostalgia's sake. So I'd like to see what it's all about. And finally, on August 30th on Prime Video, we have a new series called Carnival Row. Essentially, it's kind of like this Victorian era show, but it's a blend of Victorian era stuff meets fantasy. So basically, you have all these like mystical creatures living, like I said, Victorian era city. I actually don't know too much about it. I've seen bits and pieces of it. Like, there are some trailers out, but I don't know at this point in time if they're like full-blown storyline trailers. Most of the ones I've seen have been like character trailers, but it seems very interesting. The premise I got was basically like there's a murder that takes place, and like the question then becomes like, does the whole world know about the more mystical side of these mythical creatures existing? Is it a small portion of the public? Like, what this world is necessarily, I don't know. Like I said, based on what I've seen, and I'm trying not to read too much in because I want to, you know, just enjoy the show for what it is. So I'm very interested to, you know, check it out and find out, you know, what mythical creatures, because it seems like Cara Delevingne, Cara Delevingne, sorry, her character seems like she might be a fairy, just because, you know, her kind of like butterfly-like wings make it seem like so. And it seems like Orlando Bloom's character is just some dude, like, you know, whether he's a detective or, you know, whatever his situation is. So I'm interested to kind of venture out and see more what that world is and what the story is. So that brings this month's watch list to an end. Like always, in the comments down below, if there's something that's coming out that you're aware of, that maybe I wasn't aware of, that you think maybe me or someone else would be interested in, don't be afraid to leave it in the comments down below. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and good Bye.